Welcome to Everyday Movie Recap, where we will recap the reboot of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief from the year 2023. A 12-year-old half-human and half-god named Percy Jackson is on a quest to find the lightning bolt and bring it back to the Greek god before Zeus declares war on the world of gods. Together with Annabeth Chase, also a half-blood and Athena's daughter, and his best friend Grover Underwood, a satyr, they teamed up to retrieve the lightning bolt. When Percy was in the second grade, he began to notice things that were invisible to the naked eye and felt that he was different from the other students. However, his psychiatrist would always tell him that these things were just in his head. He was treated like an alien at school because of his strangeness, but he met his best friend, Grover. He feels they are the same and feels comfortable when he is with Grover, and he can share those weird things he can see and sense. One day on their museum tour, Mr. Brunner guides the students and tells the story of the Greek gods. Percy is standing in front of the Perseus statue, holding the head of Medusa, when he pictures the scene of him and his mother, Sally Jackson, when he was still little. They were standing in the same spot, and his mother told him that not all monsters are evil and not all heroes are good. And she mentioned the reason why he is named after Perseus and told him how much she loves Percy. Unaware that he is daydreaming, Percy suddenly realizes that he is still at the museum. Mr. Brunner comes near Percy, gives Percy a pen, and tells him he might need it in the future. During their lunch, Grover and Percy sit beside the fountain when Nancy passes by and throws a slice of cheese in the face of Grover. Percy furiously stands up to face Nancy, and there is an unexpected force that results in Nancy flying into the fountain without Percy touching her. Mrs. Dodds appears and slowly changes her form while walking towards Percy. Luckily, Percy held the pen when Mrs. Dodds jumped over him. Percy unintentionally stabbed Mrs. Dodds, and she disappeared like a vapor. Back in his consciousness, Percy asks if they saw everything and what happened to Mrs. Dodds, but Mr. Brunner and Grover deny it. In a meeting for the suspension of Percy, Grover lies on purpose and tells everyone that Percy has the intention to push Nancy to the fountain. Percy arrives at their home, and his mother welcomes him with a hug. Sally decides to drive Percy to the beach. The rain is pouring when they arrive at the beach house. Sally explains to Percy that he is just an ordinary kid. He is the son of Poseidon. Percy believes that the psychiatrist told him it was just imagination, but Sally insists that the story of the Greek gods is true. Grover knocks on the door and tells everybody they need to go. Percy was shocked by Grover's goat feet. On their way to Camp Half-Blood, they are discussing half-bloods when a minotaur chases after them. The car crashes, and they try to escape so that Percy and Grover will arrive safely at the camp. Sally makes Grover promise to protect her son, Percy. Then she uses herself as bait to buy time. The Minotaur catches her and disappears. Because of his anguish, Percy kills the huge Minotaur. Percy wakes up and rushes outside after confirming with Grover that everything that happened is true. Mr. Brunner, whose real name is Chiron, a centaur, a half-horse, and half-man, arrives to meet Percy. Days pass and Percy is now adapting to his new home. Percy goes to the restroom when bullies drag him inside and attempts to drown him in the toilet water. The water moves by itself and attacks the bullies. Annabeth sees everything since she has been watching Percy since the very first day Percy arrived at the camp. The next day, there is a competition between the blue and red teams. The team that gets the opponent's flag will be the winner. Annabeth is with Percy when she suddenly vanishes. Percy is lying on the log when bullies find him, and they attack to avenge themselves for what happened last night. Percy prepares himself for the fight. Percy fell to the ground, and he ran near the beach. He is now cornered, but he continues fighting until he defeats the three of them. Annabeth appears, and she pushes Percy to the sea. Percy's wounds are healing, and a trident appears on the top of his head as a symbol that Poseidon claims him as his son. Chiron and Dionysus explain to Percy that he has this mission to find the thief of the master bolt that belongs to Zeus to prevent the war. Percy refuses to do it because his mother has passed away. Grover interrupts the conversation to inform him that Sally is not dead, she was kidnapped by Hades. This gives Percy a chance to save his mother. Percy agreed to undertake the mission in the hopes of rescuing his mother from Hades. Luke visits Percy to give him a pair of flying shoes for his trip while Percy is packing his belongings. As Annabeth is getting some snacks at the bus stop, she smells Alecto and goes up to face her inside the bus. They manage to run away and go to the forest. The argument between Percy and Annabeth centers on Percy's fear of discovering his true identity. In the middle of the forest, Grover follows his nose when he smells hamburgers. It leads them to the place of Medusa. Alecto is already behind them, so even though they are leaving the house, it is too late. Medusa steps outside and extends an invitation to her guests. None of them look directly at Medusa for fear of turning into stones. Grover, Annabeth, and Percy are forced to accompany Medusa inside after Alecto declines. Speaking of Athena caused a rift in Annabeth and Medusa's conversation. Medusa walks to the kitchen with Percy and offers him help on the quest, but Annabeth will be taken gone. As she turned, she couldn't find Percy, and she already knew the answer. In preparation to turn the three into stones, Medusa takes off her headdress. The three devise a plan in the basement to take down Medusa. Medusa sees Percy first, he stands up and is ready to face Medusa with his eyes closed. While Medusa is distracted by Percy in his flying shoes, Annabeth covers her with a magic cap that turns her invisible, and Percy succeeds in hacking off Medusa's head. Grover believes Medusa turned his uncle into stone after discovering his Uncle Ferdinand's statue. Alecto is still waiting for them outside when they find her upstairs. They vanquish Alecto by turning her into stone with the help of Medusa's head. Police contacts Percy, Annabeth, and Grover on the train headed for Los Angeles, stating that their cabin has been damaged. A woman approaches them and tries to console them, but her true goal is to release her monster child to pursue the three of them. Percy was stung on the shoulder by the baby monster. With some luck, they escape the train by running. Grover and Percy are then taken by Annabeth to one of Athena's shrines. Regretfully, though, Athena will not assist Annabeth because the head of Medusa trampled on her pride when delivering it to the Olympians. Percy is affected throughout his body by the poison in a chimera's sting. At the sanctuary of Athena, the chimera finds them. In order to buy Percy and Grover some extra time to flee, Annabeth makes the decision to bait herself. After handing Annabeth his sword and grabbing her to take her place, Percy locks the door. Percy faces the chimera. Because of the poison, Percy is weakened, and he falls into the water. When Percy finds himself underwater and his feet stuck on the rocks, a light appears out of nowhere instructing him to breathe and remain calm. He knows it is his father Poseidon who is proud of him. People are gathered in the sanctuary, and cops are after them because of what happened. Annabeth and Grover find Percy beside the sea, climbing up from the water. Since the cops are looking for them, they decide to continue traveling on foot. They meet their cousin Ares, who invites them to dinner. At the fast food restaurant, Ares offers Annabeth and Percy to retrieve the shield in exchange for a ride, clothes, and cash. He also wants Grover to stay as collateral. The two headed to the abandoned amusement park. While Grover talks about how great Ares. At the amusement park, Percy and Annabeth find the shield in the middle of the water ride. They almost drown in the water, but Percy manages to save Annabeth. They need to figure out how to activate the machine to release the shield. Percy sits on the throne and covers him with gold. The statue releases the shield. Annabeth is figuring out how to free Percy until a man comes and helps her undo the machine. Annabeth and Percy are back, and Ares fulfills his promise to give them a ride to Los Angeles. While Percy and Annabeth attempt to get in touch with Chiron on the animal-filled train, Luke answers the phone, and Grover peeps through the window above the ceiling to see where they are. When they get to the Lotus Hotel, Grover cautions them against eating anything because it could make them forget everything, especially the lotus flower. Percy tells Annabeth, inside the hotel, that he dreams he is talking to someone, and that his most recent dream involves listening in on a discussion about the impending war between Zeus and Poseidon. Grover finds Augustus, the satyr who idolizes his uncle Ferdinand. Grover lost track of the mission and his companions. When Percy and Annabeth find Hermes, they attempt to beg for assistance, but Hermes turns them down. The time inside the hotel seems to be passing more quickly than they had anticipated. They almost forget about Grover and find him in the arcade. Even Grover forgot about them. They go to the parking lot to find the car that will help them escape to the Lotus Hotel. Despite not knowing how to drive, Percy made an effort to get them out of the hotel. They find themselves on the beach in an instant. In order to see his father, Percy heads toward the sea. A sea woman turns to face him underwater to deliver his father's message. Poseidon didn't make it, and he is preparing for the war. For teleportation pearls, which Percy can use to save his mother, were given to him by the woman. They then instantly teleport into the underworld. Many deceased individuals fall in life in order to reach the afterlife. Cerberus chases after them. Annabeth manages to climb up on one of the heads and rubs its neck, which makes it fall asleep. Grover comes out of the mouth of the Cerberus head and flies Percy up. Annabeth makes it to the top, too. They pass through Asphodel, the place where souls are stuck with regrets. Annabeth is also stuck with those roots. She pushes Percy and Grover to continue their journey. The two of them arrive on the desert island and the flying shoes suddenly drag Grover until they are removed from his feet. Percy opens the bag that Ares gave him and discovers that the Master Bolt is in it, and the true thief is Ares. As they continue their journey, they meet Hades. At first, they think that Hades is the one who wants the bolt, but it turns out Kronos, in a million pieces, is preparing his comeback and wants to destroy his brothers. Hades offers a sanctuary for Percy, for his mother, and for Grover in exchange for the bolt. Percy disagrees and uses the pearls to travel back to the land. Annabeth tries to wake up the unconscious Percy to assist in the battle with Ares. On the sea's edge, Percy regains consciousness. Percy is preparing for battle as Ares approaches. Recalling his sword-fighting match with Luke, Percy feels confident in his ability to vanquish Ares. Ares accepts Percy's challenge that if he draws the blood first, he will give up Hades' helm and leave them alone. The fight starts, and Percy is losing. Fortunately, they are fighting alongside the sea and Percy uses the water to defeat Ares. As Ares drowns, Percy slashes Ares' leg with his sword. Casting aside his sorrow, Ares vanishes and gives up the Hades helm. Alecto is waiting for Percy, Grover, and Athena when they enter the beach house. Alecto agrees and guarantees that Percy's words will be heard by Hades when Percy offers the helm in exchange for returning his mother. Even though their due has passed, Percy resolves to return the bolt to Zeus at Olympus and attempts to put an end to the war. Though Zeus needs to hear about Kronos' plans, Percy persists despite Athena and Grover's warnings about Zeus' attitude. As he approaches the receptionist, Percy shows him the bolt. Startled, the receptionist lets Percy head straight to the Olympus elevator. Percy meets Zeus and gives the bolt, but Zeus insists that the war will continue. When Percy brings up Kronos and his plans to return to life, the conversation with Zeus gets heated. Zeus chose not to listen because having stopped and placed Kronos in that predicament, he is sufficiently certain that Kronos cannot do that. Poseidon intervenes just in time to prevent Zeus from killing Percy. To protect his son, Poseidon gives up the fight. The father and son converse and come close to tears. Using a pearl, Poseidon uses teleportation to return Percy to the Half-Blood camp. Due to Percy's ability to halt the war, everyone in the camp admires him. It turns out that Luke is the one who betrayed the gods, despite Percy and Athena believing it was Clarice. Percy and Luke are in the forest when Percy confronts Luke. Because he is aware of the truth about aiding in Kronos' resurrection, Luke attempts to have Percy killed. After the battle and Percy is on the verge of death, Athena shows up to save him. Luke escapes to save his life. Percy is bidding farewell to the campers the following day. Returning to the beach house, he gives his mother Sally an enthusiastic embrace. Hades returning his mother makes Percy very happy. Percy is woken up by his mother after encountering Kronos in his dream and feeling threatened. Season 1 ends implying a greater battle that Percy and his friends must face. Tune in for the next season of Percy Jackson and his friends' battle to save the Olympians. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.